let's show them your trunk deck, how it turned out. Since this is kind of all one video, your stuff and my stuff. There's the stuff we primed yesterday. That one turned out really nice. And then we put some
Guide coat.
Guide coat. Man, I never remember that name.
Got bare metal there. Yeah. But it feels smooth as it can be. And then,
You got
I mean,
a
you
little
can't
bit of
really
a valley.
feel it dips, but the guide coat shows you where it flows.
Yep. He didn't do this yet, but
No.
or the edge. I don't think I guide coated that yet either.
This is so thin that high build primer will fill all that. So there isn't any big, deep craters anywhere, except
It sure looks like it, Clark.
on the corner.
But that's what that guide coat does, is it stays in every nook and cranny and
Yeah.
shows you where you got work to do. So that turned out pretty decent for as beat up as this trunk deck was. But
Yeah, no,
getting there.
All right, you just saw Dad's Daytona trunk deck that we just did there with the powder coat. Powder coat. Gosh, I always forget the name of that guide coat. And there you see my first pass there. That little dot to the left that Doug just put his finger on. That's the reason why I wanted to do this guide coat session on my trunk deck. Brand new trunk deck from AMD, but it had a little bitty high spot there that I tapped down. And when I tapped it down, it ended up being a little too low. I was trying to metalwork it, so it was a little low, and I put a little bit of that U-Pole gold, my favorite gold, but put a little bit of that in it and worked the U-Pole gold down flat, and then it still had a little bit left. Primed it a couple times. You saw probably in the last video. Primed it a couple times, and then it sanded through all that primer and ended up going pretty flat there. So actually my trunk deck ended up looking like it's gonna be pretty nice. Tomorrow we're going to be putting the car in white sealer, so it's probably been a week or so since this video was shot, but wanted to kind of give you guys an update. I probably have like 10 videos or so that are piling up. I haven't done any videos here in a little bit, but that doesn't mean Pops doesn't stop filming. So I got a little backlog. I might be able to get to a few of them tonight here. But this is kind of going over the whole car before we do the guide coat over the whole top. They kind of cleaned it all, and then you can see me throwing the guide coat all over the roof. It had been, gosh, I don't know, probably 6-8 months since I even sanded that roof. But basically just taking 400 over the whole car, and the roof actually was pretty decent. But using the guide coat, right above like where the driver sits in that, it's a little bit of a dark section, you can see it there. Ended up with the guide coat finding a couple more spots, so there were like 3 little bang spots at the front of that top of the windshield. The guide coat, it recessed down in, and as I was sanding over everything, ended up finding them. So I was glad we kind of did that. Fenders and doors and all that I've done enough. You can see all the variegated colors down the side of this car that I've got it fairly straight. And I think I say in the end of this, it's so slick that when you've got 400 on everything, you can almost see a reflection. I mean, not almost, you can see a reflection. As you get to where you look all the way down the quarter, it's reflecting the wall next to it. So I guess I've never painted a car that I took everything down to 400 on the base primer. I left this in. This was Doug going along every little cowl vent right there. You can see him just kind of inching to the left as he goes, and I'll tell him that I left this in just to make sure I was inspecting his work here. Yep, looks like he got every single one of them. But Michael Jeff's there, Doug's out, and the first time we had like 4 guys at once working on the car. But just I think I say in the live audio here at the end, that just going around every little edge looking for any little imperfection, any kind of little chip. I found a couple chips under the driver's door there in the rocker that were just over time, I guess, sitting there for, I don't know, it's probably been a couple years in this position. and you get nicks, you're dragging stuff by the car all the time. So I'm hoping to get this car done and get it out of the garage into one of my own garages. So uh, there, I think I'm taking the final thing after blocking the whole top of the car was taking that DA with 400 on it with a new intermediate pad. Our pads were about worn out, but so all the edges were like bent up, so it wasn't getting a good solid contact with the whole car. But love having the rotisserie. Makes really nice work of just running all around and making sure everything's flat. And here's where I get into a little problem here. I'll show you live audio.
Okay, so if I had this to do over again, when I was painting all the inside, I would have taped off all of this, because even this little small amount of red, I don't know if it's in the shot or not, but I've had to come back and sand all the red off, because the red and then that clear is a hard edge. Like this is just, you can see primer, red and clear here, and you can feel that ridge. It's a bear to go back through and do all of that. And then I'm getting into my Bondo that not my Bondo, but my layers of primer that I've already made really slick and smooth and panel matched and all that good stuff. Don't get all your paint and clear over that. If you're doing your paint in stages, don't overspray on your other panels, because it's work to get all that stuff back off of there. So I'm doing it though.
Try to breathe a little less heavy in this audio. Just sneezed a bunch of times before I recorded the last audio, so I apologize if the breathing got to you. I hate hearing people breathe. But here we go. Here's, I think, the end part of this, and maybe the last time I'll show you guys me sanding on this car. That was a cool little thing I did there with in the time lapse, was spin all the dust off of the DA just kind of real quick, and it didn't really show. And then I kicked the car there. I've gotten so used to turning this car on the rotisserie that I put my foot in the back window and all kinds of stuff that I saw kind of watching these videos. Like, gosh, you shouldn't be in the habit of putting your foot in the rear window of your car as you do it. It's been on the rotisserie too long, and I'm looking forward to getting it all done here. But this is about the end of it. Just me running around with the DA with 400 on it. And the final thing on these, that was the bane of my existence. That left quarter extension, I bet I worked. If I worked it once, I bet I worked it 20 times. So you'll see, that's what Dad said was the story of my restoration. That should be the picture that goes on the thumbnail.
All right, so everything's sanded. Let's show you this. This, I needed another 16th to get this. Dad said this was the story of my restoration right here. Here's the picture. So I needed to bring that out a little bit. This is super slick now. Happy with that. Hopefully that's out enough. But did 400 all over the whole car, and then went around every single edge and kind of wrapped around the edge to where every single edge is super slick too, because it's red paint everywhere that is not the outside candy shell. So rounded all those edges and DA'd most of it, and then all four of us kind of jumped on it, and my Uncle Jeff and Doug and Dad, and went around and just got every single edge. So everything's ready. I still need to sand my tail panel, but I'm not sure I'm going to hit that with too much red, because I'm going to paint it black. So it may get some overspray on it, but I'll still scuff it. But that'll be black with the taillights and all that. And then there's a spot underneath that needs to be done. And then other than that, everything's ready. So we might start back taping. So you might see a whole fast forwarded back taping video. But we're using some cool stuff, so we may show kind of how that goes and what we think as far as if it's a foam edge on the backside, how it might kind of spray in a little bit, and I'm sure we'll do, man, I'm whistling. And I'm sure we'll do something to that effect after it's all painted and show how good or how terrible that stuff works. We'll see. I don't know. But anyway, full day of sanding, everything's ready, and it's weird. You can see it's so slick. It's a reflection you can see down the side of it, and it's just primer, but it's all 400 everywhere, so it's beautiful. And I shouldn't be touching it, but I am. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye bye. All right, bonus footage. This is love lost for all the videos we lost when my computer crashed. But
Building this was one of the videos.
yeah, powder coated flat black valve covers, aluminum, Holley Street Dominator intake, and then I've got
New fuel pump.
Holley sniper system to put on it.
Yep. What? New fuel pump.
Is
Well,
it ARP bolts that I put everywhere?
yeah, everything's ARP, aluminum heads, polished.
Yep.
It's nice. Nice.
Cool. So we're gonna rotate it. So it hadn't been rotated in 6 months or so. So gonna get some oil everywhere. Make sure it's all staying nice. Bye bye. Anything on the backside? Nope. Oh, I powder coated those white too. Because my theme is red and white all over.
Red, white, and black.